The name's Bond. James Bond.
You're a wizard, Harry.
I drink your milkshake.
You can't handle the truth.
You're tearing me apart, Lisa!
All right, everybody, welcome back to the Movie Mafia podcast. I'm your host, Jacob Trout. I'm joined here by my other two hosts, Gabrielle and Max. Super excited to get this episode going. I know Gabrielle wasn't here on our first episode. We're so excited to have her back. Gabrielle, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm very excited to be here and talk everything movies.
Absolutely, and we have a packed episode today, and we're going to start off. We definitely want to talk about Wonder Woman 1984. I know everybody's here to listen to Wonder Woman 1984, but before we do that, we have a very special list ranking we're going to go over. We have our complete DCEU ranking list. So 1 to 9, all the 9 DCEU movies, and just to be clear, so everybody knows, we're not going to include the Joker, even though it's a DC movie. It's not in the extended universe, so that's going to be on the side. But other than that, we got the other 9 DCEU movies. I'll read them through real quick so everybody knows what we're talking about. We're going to be ranking 1984, Wonder Woman 1984, the original Wonder Woman, Justice League, Batman vs. Superman, Aquaman, Birds of Prey, Shazam, Suicide Squad, and Man of Steel. Those are all the 9 movies. We're going to be having them on our own ranking list. Each one of us has prepared our own list, and we haven't showed them to one another. So this is a fresh, brand new list. And all right, yeah. So with that being said, I'll go ahead and I'll go first. So I'm ready for you guys to pick my list apart. All right, so here we go. So number 9, I don't think this will get too much criticism, but Suicide Squad has to be number 9. This is the worst movie in the DCEU. I'll give a brief reasoning for that. I mean, I just think the plot's all over the place. In terms of negatives, I think the fight scenes, the CGI is not great. I mean, I will say for oh my gosh, what is his name again? Killer Croc, right? Is that's his name?
Yeah.
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 I thought he actually looked good, Croc. I thought Croc actually looked good. But other than that, I didn't really like it. Most of the other, like Enchantress, I thought looked very weird. I didn't like, what was the shark? What, King Shark or whatever? But yeah, anyway, so, I thought the movie had issues with that, and especially the plot. Man alive, the plot was just so confusing. I was trying to follow characters and follow the different arc between it's been so long since I've seen this movie, between Enchantress and her other self. I forget what her name was, the actual woman who got possessed by Enchantress. I forget what her character's name was, but her love romance with the other was it Joel Kinnaman played what's his face, the
Rick Flag.
Rick Flag, yes, thank you. It's
Yeah.
been so long, man. I've tried to put everything Suicide Squad out of my brain. But I liked their romance, but I felt like there was not enough of it on screen. I felt like this movie was cut a ton, and I know that was one of the biggest issues that Jared Leto had with this movie. He played Joker in Suicide Squad. I mean, a ton of his footage was cut out this film. I know he had massive issues with that. I thought what we did have of him wasn't very good. I didn't think he looked good at all.
No.
I didn't think, and I think his poor performance, or at least what they showed of his performance, was poor for me. And I think that made Harley Quinn's character a little bit worse for me. I think having a compelling Joker boosts Harley Quinn, and while I thought she was one of the only bright spots of the film, I thought she was still taken down by that kind of poor performance. Other than that, just forgettable characters. I forget what all their stupid names were now, but a bunch of the Suicide Squad were dying in the beginning of the movie, just from stupid stuff, and whatever. I guess I understand that they have to have guys die like that, but I still just thought it was kind of pathetic. But
like you said when you were describing the movie, because I think you nailed it on the head. There was just too much happening at once, and I feel like the plot was all over the place. There was, it's a Suicide Squad, but there were just too many characters that were unforgettable, and it was a mess. I totally agree with you.
Yeah. So I know a lot of people will probably agree with me, so I'll get more farther in our list. We can get some controversy going. So number 8 on the tier list here of DCEU movies, I got the Justice League that came out, the very recently here. So I'm hoping that we've talked about this, off camera a little bit, but I'm hoping that the Zack Snyder Justice League is much better, and we're definitely going to be reviewing that and covering that here. I know all of us are super excited for that, but all we have to work with is the Joss Whedon cut of Justice League, and I gotta admit it was underwhelming. I'm a big DC fan. I'm a big superhero, Marvel, all that. I love it all for the most part, but Justice League really just rubbed me the wrong way. Between the obviously everyone made fun of Henry Cavill's mustache and the CGI with that, but they cut out a ton of cyborg scenes, Flash scenes, stuff where we get to understand the Flash more as a character. I liked Ezra Miller, but I felt like I didn't even know who he was. There was no Flash movie before this to get an understanding of the character, so I think that takes away from it. And there was no scenes. They cut out scenes with Barry Allen and Iris West, so they could kind of build their characters together and get a better understanding of the Flash as a character. That was all ripped away, and same thing with Cyborg's character. Some of his early life, they cut out a lot of that. So both of those things, while they add on to an already long movie, I think they add a lot of character development. That's what this movie desperately needed. Seeing Wonder Woman and Aquaman, who are some of the strongest characters in the DC universe, struggle to contend with Steppenwolf while all of them are fighting him at the same time. And then all of a sudden, Superman comes in and just squashes him like a bug. I understand that Superman is much powerful than Steppenwolf, but holy crap, Wonder Woman can probably beat him by herself. If she was really, really trying, let alone Wonder Woman, Aquaman, the Flash, Cyborg, and Batman all together are losing to him. I couldn't understand that. If you want to go more into Steppenwolf, his costume, his outfit or whatever, his whole CGI'd suit looks terrible. Absolutely horrible. And then to make matters even worse, as if the characters weren't underpowered as is, the entire movie is Batman having back problems, he's an old man. He's struggling to fight parademons. Having the Flash needed to save him from the parademons, and the Flash himself is not even fighting. He's really just running around, kind of distracting and annoying Steppenwolf. He doesn't land a punch or have any real impact besides saving civilians. I just thought the rest of the Justice League was really just not handled correctly. I really think that whether it's Zack Snyder's fault or Joss Whedon's fault or both, I really don't think either director has a solid understanding of any of the characters, or at least their power levels, or what they should be like. And I thought it really hurt this movie. And then we'll move up a little bit. I'll try to move a little bit faster through my list here. But on 7, I have Batman versus Superman. This movie had some good action sequences, but it also had some really unbelievable plot lines. I get Batman and Superman are going to fight, but what I don't understand is why Superman didn't just come out and explain the situation to him. I remember they were on the rooftop fighting each other, and the situation was Superman has to fight Batman because Lex Luthor has Superman's mom hostage and will kill his mom if he doesn't fight Batman. I think that was roughly what the plot was. And I remember that they went on the rooftop to talk with each other, but Batman wouldn't let him get a word out and just kept shooting him and stuff. And then Superman just got so pissed off that he didn't even explain himself, and they just fought each other. And I thought that was kind of an unbelievable situation. It made Superman seem like a more aggressive kind of person, where I really didn't think he's like that. Especially with Batman. Batman should be the most calculated. He's not the strongest. Not by a mile the strongest superhero, but he's absolutely the smartest, the best tactician. And I really thought that someone of his, kind of IQ or his ability should have been able to guess the situation, or should have at least discovered it sooner, or should have handled the situation a little bit differently. It felt like they dumbed down Batman's character when that is his most compelling part of him. So, that really sucked for me. And then to kind of close on BVS, I didn't like how they had 3 characters in it, like uh, Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman, and only one of those 3 characters. Those are the 3 flagship characters for DC, and only one of them had a solo movie at that point, and it was Man of Steel, which I'll talk about later, and I really enjoyed that movie. But there was no Batman movie, no Wonder Woman movie at this point in time, and I really don't think you should have made a BVS movie without having the audience know more about these characters beforehand. I think it ruins the movie completely. I think it's an absolutely terrible idea, but it happens, so it is what it is. And then lastly, I'll close on Lex Luthor. Jesse Eisenberg, I believe, was the cast for him. I thought that was an absolutely horrible cast. Ruins Lex Luthor for me. He acted more like he was the Joker than he was Lex Luthor. I mean, he was insane, like rambly, very psychotic. Lex Luthor is absolutely not all there, but he's incredibly smart. And like Batman, he is calculated. And that is how he can have battles with Superman without having any powers. Because even though he's insane, he's still incredibly smart at the same time. Whereas in this film, he acted like he was actually like clinically insane. Like he was, like literally just like the Joker. And I felt it to be very strange and jarring. So move on to 6. At 6, I got Wonder Woman 1984. Underwhelming movie. We'll talk more about it, so I'll gloss over this one a little quick. But there's a bunch of stuff I didn't like in this movie. I thought it was an average movie for me. It was very homey and very it was like a very family movie. I enjoyed huddling up on the couch with my my brother, my mom, watching the movie, but it wasn't anything that brought any emotion out in me or really made me think or had me really invested. When I was about 2 hours through this movie, I found myself thinking, geez, it's still going? Oh my God. So, and that's really how you should never feel like that. That's one of the only, DC movies I felt watching. Like I've never felt like that watching a DC movie besides the ones listed below. And then we'll move up a little bit. So 5, this is where the list got super hard. All of these movies are really good for me. While they have issues, I still really like them. So 5 for me is Aquaman. Really liked Aquaman. Jason Momoa was the absolute perfect cast as Aquaman. But I really thought they did a poor job developing the villains in that movie. So it was Orm and Black Manta. Thought they were poorly developed. Didn't see their motivation at all, or didn't really think it was compelling. While the special effects for all the Atlantis and the villain, the monsters in the trench were great and really really cool, and I loved that Max, you remember who the director for that movie was? It was
James
James
Wan.
Yeah, James Wan. And I believe he had experience as directing horror movies. So that horror element he brought into it was awesome, and I loved that element of the movie. I think that was perfectly utilized. But there were also a lot of downtime where like Jason Momoa and Amber Heard were just walking through the desert, very weird narration and just like clunky dialogue. I felt like the dialogue between the two of them was something out of a rom-com. It was just like very bland, not well thought out, something like a high schooler would write. It was kind of just pathetic to me, the early dialogue between the two of them. So their chemistry on screen as sort of a couple, as Mira and Aquaman, was terrible for me. I didn't like it at all, which is weird because I think the chemistry in a lot of these other movies were really good. For the love interests that they did in other films, but for this, didn't like it. So yeah, Aquaman for me is at 5. And then 4, I have Birds of Prey, another hard choice. Love this movie, but it's just an above average movie. Harley Quinn was excellent. Margot Robbie, again, killed it like she did in Suicide Squad. Really good job. I really liked Ewan McGregor as Black Mask, even though the character didn't really get any development. Like, they didn't really put much of an emphasis on the villain, but they kind of... what I liked about it was that they knew he wasn't a focal point as a villain. Black Mask was. They kind of just were like, hey, he's a villain. We're kind of laughing about how stupid he is. Similarly to Shazam. Like, he is the villain of this movie, but we're not acting like that's super important. like whereas I felt in a movie like Suicide Squad, they really felt like Enchantress was like some big villain, or Justice League, they really felt like Steppenwolf was some super important villain. But in Birds of Prey, they knew that Black Mask was kind of just a side thing, and they treated him like that. They didn't act like he was anything better than that. But other than that, it was still like it was a small movie. I mean, what can you do? It's the shortest runtime of any DCEU movie. It's just a Harley Quinn movie. I mean, she's a B character, really. She did a great job. It was an awesome movie, but she's no Superman. She's no Flash. She's no Batman, Wonder Woman, etc. So you can't really put her, for me, you can't really put her higher than 4. And then getting over my top 3 here. 3, I got Wonder Woman, the original from 2017. I love this movie. But it suffers from a terrible third act. And again, following the trend of another upsetting villain in this movie, I thought the villain was terrible, completely pathetic. I didn't think he looked cool. I didn't think his motivations made any sense. I didn't think his character was developed at all. It's very poor. But as other than that, positives, I thought the chemistry between Wonder Woman, Diana Prince, and Steve Trevor, Chris Pine, was absolutely amazing. They have the best chemistry of any superhero couple I've seen of any of the Marvel or DC movies. It's really 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 good, and the action sequences are mostly pretty good. I really liked how they developed Diana's character. I thought they did a pretty good job with backstory, plot, all of that. Number 2, I got Man of Steel. I loved this movie. This is I believe this was a 2013 movie. This was Superman's origin story. They did a bunch of good things with this film. I thought Henry Cavill was awesome. I thought me and Max talked about this earlier, the star-studded cast of that movie. Russell Crowe as Jor-El, Amy Adams as Lois Lane. It was just, they did a great job with the cast. And I think what I really loved is how they built his origin. I think a lot of Superman, movies or TV shows struggle with making him compelling and understandable. And I think a lot of that stems with how you start him. What happened with his early life? How did he become Superman? And I think they did a great job with showing how he had to give up his dad to keep his secret as Superman. I think that made his character much more interesting and compelling. And then, his relationship with his family, and then that growing into his need to help people, but also keep his secret at the same time, and then how that translates with his character with Amy Adams. All done really well. What I didn't like is how Zack Snyder has this God imagery. He does the same thing in BVS and Justice League, where they have these scenes where Superman is above everybody else looking down at them. To me, Superman, while he is much more powerful than any normal human, is relatable because he is just a Kansas farm boy and he just wants to do the right thing. And that is what's relatable about him. And I think when this movie strips away this Kansas farm boy and instead puts this God above, hovering above everyone else, as they're just looking up at how insanely powerful he is. I really didn't like that. But that's just Zack Snyder's vision for Superman. That just differs from mine. That's more opinion based. But yeah, I think other than that, they did a great job with like Zod and everything, and the backstory on the planet, even before how Krypton got destroyed and everything, and all the Russell Crowe did a great job with all that. That was spectacular. So number 2 for me. And then number 1, you guys know it's Shazam. I was really struggling between 1 and 2 with Shazam and Man of Steel, but I gotta say what pushed it over for me is they took a character who almost nobody knows about besides superhero fans, avid superhero fans at that, and they made him incredibly popular, I think, and well known, and they made a movie that was a success. I was worried about Shazam's movie. This isn't a character like Superman where you just plaster Superman or Batman and people go, oh yeah, that guy, and they just watch the movie because of that. This is a character who not a lot of people know. Not a lot of people know anything about him, and they were able to set up his origin story, make him compelling, and then even dive into like the crazier parts of his character. where Shazam, they do the Shazam family storyline, which when I saw this in theaters, I was blown away that they had you know, the the balls, I guess, for lack of a better term, to do Shazam family as a storyline. Having all the different characters kind of have a different part of Shazam's powers. To make like a whole family, a super powered sort of family. I was really surprised they would do that. I thought for sure that'd be way too many characters to put into a movie, and to some degree it kind of is. But I do think since they kind of pressed the brake on developing the villain, it allowed them to make the rest of these characters and make the family a little bit more backstory and a little bit more compelling. So do I think Shazam is a better movie than Man of Steel? You probably could convince me that Man of Steel is better, but I think it's the best DCEU movie because of how difficult it was, in my opinion, to pull this movie off, and then how successful they made it after I thought this could easily be a flop. They turned a character that not a lot of people knew, and they made him really successful. So anyway, that is my rant over. So you guys can go take it away and pick apart my list.
Okay, so I didn't think your list was like half bad. I mean, mine is a little bit different, and I'll get to it when I say my list. But for the most part, I think we're on the same track. Like your critiques of each movie, I wholeheartedly agree with, especially the Suicide Squad one. The only thing that I liked about that movie was the music, was the soundtrack. That soundtrack honestly is amazing. But that's a different story. That movie is just horrible on so many different levels. So I have to agree with a lot of your critiques, except Birds of Prey. That is my favorite movie, but that's just because the director was a woman. And to me, I think that is incredible that she was able to direct a DCEU movie. And then in the middle of a fight scene in Birds of Prey, the characters stop and ask each other for a hair tie. Like, who would think of that unless the director was a woman? And to me, because my favorite movies aren't like superhero movies, I'm such a rom-com, like feel good, like I definitely am a very like woman empowerment kind of movie. So to me, this movie is number one, but it did have a good spot on your list compared to the others. So I do have to give you that.
What do you think, Max?
I think I like your list too. Are very similar. The bottom three, a lot different on the top six. Not that much different, but definitely different. I do think there's a couple issues in Shazam which hold it back for me from going so high on Shazam, which I'll get to in my list. But your critiques are very fair. We'll obviously get to 1984 for sure. But I think it's a very fair list. I actually like Batman a lot in Batman v Superman. I think the issue with that is that they completely changed his character in Justice League. It was a totally different Batman, which is not Affleck's fault. It's the writing. And he was a very grizzled Batman, which I actually liked because we haven't seen that before in other films. But Justice League kind of made him the same old Batman. And that was my main issue with that movie. So I definitely wanted to add into your points between those two films for sure.
Are you interested in seeing if the Snyder Cut for Justice League will bring back the BVS version of Batman that you were looking for?
That's what I'm really interested in, because he was such a grizzled and tough and more of like a badass too of a Batman, because he's not young Batman. He's very old. He's not old, but he's in his 40s, and it makes sense. But to turn him into these having weird one-liners during Justice League just did not work for me. So I hope the script is better for the Snyder Cut for him, and hopefully Affleck does also a good job of bringing that character back for sure.
God, I cringe every time when I hear the line from Justice League when he's talking to Aquaman. I hear you talk to fish. Oh God.
Terrible dialogue.
Who wrote that, dude? Come on.
For sure.
I know, but that's my kind of humor, so I sit there and laugh with my friends about it because that's my peak humor, which says a lot.
Yeah.
Well, all right. Well, Gabrielle, go ahead. I want to hear your list. Give me your list.
All right, I'll say my list. So number 9, we got Suicide Squad. We already talked about many of the issues of Suicide Squad, so I'm just gonna throw it out there. Number 8, Justice League. I waited in those long movie theater lines, and to me, it just was not worth it. 7, Batman versus Superman. I wrote B versus S in my things. I was like, what? Batman versus Superman. That to me, it was it was like you said, like Batman, yeah, his story was there, but also there was yeah, we knew they were gonna fight and everything. It just wasn't what I was expecting, I should say. And that's kind of why I was very disappointed in it. Number 6, we have Aquaman, and that's just because all the other movies top that to me. Like, it was good. It was good, but it just is in the middle of my list. Then we have Man of Steel. I was very looking forward to watching that movie, and I have to say I was very impressed by it. I thought it was a very good movie. I really, really did like it. So that's just me. But like I said before, my movie taste is definitely not action superhero movies. And then where was I? Number 4, I have Shazam. Like you said before, they took an average superhero because I'm not a superhero fanatic. I've never heard of Shazam. So when this movie came out, I was shocked. I was floored. I thought it was a very cute movie, and I use the word cute because the family like story behind it. I was like, "Oh, I love this!" So that was my reaction throughout the whole thing. And then we have number 3, and this is kind of like these are my I'm just gonna go 3, 2, 1. 3, Wonder Woman 1984, 2, Wonder Woman, 1, Birds of Prey. And like I said before, I love when like women are the main character of an action movie because I'm like, yes, this is what I like to see. Girls can do anything. And like, yes, that's very cliche, but to me, that's what I like to see. And I actually saw Wonder Woman the first one when it first came out on a date, and I wasn't planning to see it with him at all. And all of a sudden the movie that I wanted to see was a rom-com and it was sold out, and I was like, "Hey guys, we should go see Wonder Woman." And there we go. So I was sitting there the entire time enamored with the movie. I was like, "Wow, this movie was so good." Like the family, like her on the island and everything. Oh, it was so amazing. I absolutely loved it. And then I actually haven't seen Wonder Woman in 1984 yet, and I know it's hard to put it as my number 3 spot, but I already know I'm gonna love it from all the spoilers that I have read, from everybody talking about it. My one friend pretty much recited the movie to me, so I felt like I watched it, and I just know, like, as you said, it was such a cuddly movie. I feel like I can watch it with my family, and I'm gonna love it just because that's kind of my movie taste. And then Birds of Prey, that movie, I was so excited. I saw that movie on my birthday, and that movie just made me feel so good. The like, yes, while oh god, the Black Mask, while he was like the main villain, I feel like Harley Quinn had all of the villains. Like she was just the one, like she was the one just trying to fight off the bad guy, and everybody to her was the bad guy. And that's kind of what made this movie that like, oh, somebody's trying to like kill her over here and somebody's trying to kill her over here, and you're just like, oh my god, why there's so many people against her. And it was just amazing. I absolutely love that movie, so that's why it's my number 1 spot. And go ahead, I'm prepared to take all the criticism.
All right, yeah. I mean, I totally I see everything you're making, all the points you're making in your list. Um, I totally agree with your points about Birds of Prey and Wonder Woman. I really like both those movies. I think I might give a little bit too much credit to Shazam sometimes, but you know that's just like you said. You have your preferences. I mean, they kind of line up with mine as well. Yeah, I think I'm interested to see what you have to say about Wonder Woman 1984 once you see it, because I think
Yeah.
we'll talk about it a little bit more. But I think it has some real issues that for me
Okay.
put it like a step below some of the other movies. But yeah.
Yeah, I'm very interested to see when I actually watch it where it'll stand in like the rest of my list. I feel like it's definitely going to be higher up because it
Yeah.
is my preference movie, but we shall see. I can't wait to talk about it when I do watch it.
Yeah, and I agree. Your list is very fair too, and I like that your top list is a lot of fun movies, not just deep story, but just like fun. You can watch them. It's a very watchable film, and I think that's why I like your list as well.
For
For
sure.
Word.
sure.
All right. Well, we'll save the best for last. Max, go ahead. Give us your
Oh,
list.
thanks. So again, I basically have the same. I have actually the same 9 through 6 as well. So I have Suicide Squad at 9. I actually liked the movie a lot when I saw it for the first time. Then I rewatched it and seen all of the issues. And I think that out of all of the DCEU movies, this one's trying to be an MCU film, putting in pop music and putting in um, just the characters don't feel DC. It feels like it's a Marvel movie that happens for some reason. DC wrote it. It didn't feel tonally at all. It was all over the place. But I actually liked Will Smith as Deadshot a lot, and Margot Robbie as well was also very good. The cast is great, just they didn't get enough script or best CGI, as you said earlier, to help them out. Um, Justice League is number 8 for me. Again, fun cast, but again, I really hate the CGI and the coloring of the third act big fight scene with all the red across the sky. It looked like a video game at times, and I think Steppenwolf is the worst villain we've gotten so far in this DCEU universe. Really terrible. And then Superman's kind of, yeah, as you said, the mustache, not really in the movie that much, and there's no backstory. Cyborg doesn't get enough screen time. Flash doesn't get enough screen time. And as I said, Batman is a totally different character from BVS, which is a big misfire for me for who actually liked that part of that film. And that's why BVS is number 7. Affleck is great, and Cavill's great, and the cast is great. As you said, Lex Luthor is a big misfire, even though I love Eisenberg. Aquaman is 6 for me. I actually, now different to you, I actually love the villains. I think they're easily the best part of the film, especially Black Manta, because his storyline was interesting because Aquaman leaves Black Manta's dad for dead in the beginning of the movie, but Black Manta doesn't do anything the rest of the movie. He shows up for one more big action scene, and he's in the post-credit scene setting up the sequel. So I want to see a lot more of him. And Orm was a good villain, but again, it feels like a story that we've seen before. The brother and the brothers fighting over the throne. It didn't. It just felt like something I've seen a billion times before, as well. Number 5, I have Birds of Prey. I like this movie, but it really isn't a Birds of Prey movie, which is what I was kind of wanting to see. It's really just a Harley Quinn movie that happened to have other superheroes in the film. Actually, I'm a big fan of Black Mask. I think Ewan McGregor steals the entire film when he's on screen. And I actually like Black Canary too. But the rest of the women don't really get any screen time. They get like a scene, maybe 2 scenes before they become somehow the Birds of Prey at the end of the movie. And I thought they handled Black Mask's death very poorly. As a character that I didn't want to see die, actually. He could have been a nice through line for more films, but it's just what it is. My number 4 is Wonder Woman 1984. Now, I don't really love this movie at all. I do have plenty of issues, and the more I think about the movie, the more I don't like it. But I think it's a great movie for 2020, really. It's a very positive movie. It's a very inspirational movie involving Wonder Woman and what she does involving her decisions with Steve when she brings him back are very, I was not but motivational for sure. That you can't have everything in life without something taking it away from you. And I thought that was a good plot point. And also, I did think Pedro Pascal stole the entire film as Maxwell Lord. I thought he was really great. Cheetah didn't feel necessary. Cheetah felt like a character who was just brought in to have a boss fight with Wonder Woman in the third act because Maxwell Lord is not a superhero. And that's not a person with powers. My number 3 is Shazam, a movie that, as you guys all said, pretty surprised it was that good. I also liked Mark Strong as the villain, Savannah, really a lot. But my main issues are the tones just don't always work. We go from really one scene in particular where, the scene where Savannah kills his dad in the office room. And it's a very dark, horrifying scene. And then you go back to jokes and like the tones don't always work in that movie for me. Wonder Woman, the first one, comes in number 2 for me. I really liked it. As you said, the third act is pretty terrible. Steve's death does hit hard, and then its bad CGI boss fight kind of kills the whole vibe of the movie. But the first 2 acts are really great. And that's what I'm going to talk about too in my 84 reviews, because this movie, you kind of feel like the setting is a character in the film. Like it takes place in World War I or World War II, but it feels like it's in that time. 84 just feels like it's a Wonder Woman film that happens to take place in 1984, which was one of my main issues with the film. And my number 1 is Man of Steel. I really like this movie. I don't love it. I still have plenty of issues to go around. But I think Zod versus Superman, that fight goes on way too long and there's way too much destruction to have barely any consequences in BVS. But the characters are great. As you said, the cast is insane for this movie. Even Lawrence Fishburne's in the movie playing Perry White. There's a lot of great characters, but I do love the movie. I think Hans Zimmer also kills it, not with a great score in Man of Steel, and also especially in Wonder Woman 1984. He does a great job with the score as well. It's Snyder's best film, and I think that that's really easily said. I think he knows how to handle Superman, which is interesting heading into Snyder Cut. Will he change a lot with Superman compared to how little he was used in Justice League? So that's my DCU ranking.
Nice. Well,
Yeah.
That's
yeah,
a
I
good
mean,
question.
just to comment on some of the points you made. With Birds
Yeah.
of Prey, I definitely didn't feel as strongly about Black Mask as you did.
Mm.
But I totally agree with you on the point of the rest of the Birds of Prey grouping. I actually really
Yeah.
like Huntress as a character, and I liked her
Agreed.
character, but I was just dying to see more of it. And the
Agreed.
absence of it really was killing me. I really liked their grouping. I thought the cast was good for all of the Birds of Prey team, I guess. I don't know if that's how you would describe it. But I just was hoping to see more of them on screen. And this is a movie that was only an hour and 49 minutes runtime, the shortest of all the movies we just talked about, all 9. So, I was really hoping that there'd be more development for those other characters, but, that didn't end up being the case. So,
Yeah.
No, I totally agree. See, going into watching Birds of Prey, I honestly didn't know what I was expecting. I was like, Birds of Prey? Oh, it's Harley Quinn. Okay, that's what I was going into the movie like. I've never heard of the Birds of Prey until this movie. I'm gonna be honest. Like I said, I'm not a huge superhero action DC Marvel movie fanatic like that. Like I do watch them. I've watched every one of these movies. I've watched all the classic DC movies as well. So going into this, I was like, Birds of Prey? Like, what? I think it's gonna be really good. And it ended up being my favorite movie, but I was very confused of the Birds of Prey. And then I figured out that, oh, the Birds of Prey is the whole group of girls that are like fighting together, and that's what I loved. And like you said, I wanted more. Like I would love to see like another version of this, which is just like the Birds of Prey, like not how they meet up, not how this person's going after this person. Like yes, that was really cool to see, but I wanted to see more.
Yeah, and also, and we're talking about Black Mask earlier. If you didn't know anything about the comics, there's not really a lot of background on why he's just a guy that wears a black mask. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah,
If
and
the
it felt
character
like the
doesn't
way
get
that the way they killed him
Yeah.
kind of felt like they were like, yeah, we don't really care about Black Mask. Here he
But
is.
I
There he
personally,
goes.
I thought Ewan had a blast. It definitely seems like what I like is watching actors who seem like they're having a blast playing a role. And it seemed like Ewan really loved playing the role. And especially that scene where he's like in his club when he's trying to tell the girl to take her clothes off in front of everyone. It's a very tense scene that I actually really like in the movie. I really take him a lot more seriously, but he's yeah, I agree. He's not used right, but I like Ewan in the role personally.
Yeah, and then I
I
wanted to
definitely
touch.
agree.
Yeah, for sure. And I wanted to touch quickly on Aquaman.
Yeah.
I liked the idea of how they were setting up Black Manta with, Jason Momoa leaving his father for dead, and that kind of gives us
Yeah.
motivation to his disdain for Aquaman. But what I really don't like is that they put that in a movie where Orm is the main villain.
Exactly. I
I
agree with
really
you.
think that should have been, if you're just gonna include that scene, maybe all right, but like focus on Orm, focus on this. I want to see like the younger versions of Jason Momoa, or maybe when he was a baby and like what that was like, and then like I want to see more of him versus Orm, and like where does the relationship go, and like did they like each other before, but then the relationship has deteriorated, or I want to see something more with that. But
Yeah.
the long scene where Black Manta is fighting them in that town kind of felt like,
Yeah.
oh, this is the action scene that we know everybody will like because we're not sure if they'll like the underwater scene. So
Agreed.
I just want them to be
Agreed.
confident and go, you know what, our movie is great and we're gonna make the best movie possible. Because all they did was they held their movie in like an average state, but by doing that, it prevents it from being like terrible, I guess, but it holds them back from being a great movie. And that's my main criticism. I would love to see this Black Manta stuff in Aquaman too, personally.
Yeah, that's what I'm most excited for. Also, the music is great in Aquaman. I listen to it a lot. It's really great. But I agree. And also, like Willem Dafoe is in the movie. as like Aquaman's mentor.
Yeah.
And like he's not, he has like a scene or two of him mentoring him.
I love
don't
Willem
really feel
Dafoe,
that.
but like,
Yeah, and
more,
also I
please,
don't
more.
mirror an Aquaman relationship at all. I'm not a big Amber Heard person, and I'm not even sure if we're gonna see her again in the movies after the Johnny Depp stuff. But
Yeah.
um, and also I don't think the movie was as funny as it thinks it is. Like it thinks it's really
And
funny,
that's the
and I
dialogue.
wasn't really laughing during the movie, which is a negative for sure.
Yeah. No doubt. No doubt.
I am dying to talk about Wonder Woman 1984 just because I haven't seen it and I want to know what you guys think of it before
Yeah.
I see it, just so I know what I'm getting myself into. So, should we dive in?
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
and it seems like that I'm more positive and you're more negative, which is going to make this a fun conversation for sure.
Well, I'm excited to contribute
Spoiler warning for sure.
Yes,
If you
spoiler
haven't
warning.
seen it,
Yep.
check it out. It's been out since Christmas, so we gave you a couple days to watch it. So
Yeah.
you want me to start, or do you want to start?
Yeah, you go ahead. Take it away. Just I just wanted to quick before you start. Actually, I probably should just mention just so everyone knows. If you haven't
Yeah.
seen Wonder Woman 1984, it premiered on Christmas Day. So I believe on HBO Max. So
Correct, yeah.
you know, box office wise, the movie I believe has a total worldwide box office. I guess because like they're including. I think it has a few theatrical releases, like in actual
It
theaters.
does here.
But it's
Yeah.
mostly just like online. The box office number I'm seeing is 85 million worldwide, which obviously if you compare that to pre-COVID, that's pretty bad. But
now it's pretty good. During COVID
Yeah.
times, it's the best thing that's happened to movies since this happened.
Yeah, for sure, and so much so that this movie has already gotten a Wonder Woman 3. That's pretty much
Yes.
confirmed at this point.
Wow.
That Wonder Woman
No, it
3,
has been confirmed.
Yeah, yes, yep, it's been confirmed. Wonder Woman 3 is coming, and Patty Jenkins will return to direct that. There's
Yeah.
also I remember seeing
Queen.
controversy that quickly evaporated from social media, but the day this movie was released, there was a lot of controversy I saw that people were not excited about this movie and they didn't like it, and they were worried because Patty Jenkins is set to direct the next Star Wars movie titled Rogue Squadron.
Mhm.
So people were not happy about that, and they wanted her to be removed off this movie because of Wonder Woman 1984's poor performance in some people's ratings.
And to add, before all this controversy, everyone wanted her to be the savior of the DCEU because of how everyone loved the first one. And literally, this comes out, everyone's like, "Don't direct the third one," or like, it's insane the amount of hatred towards. I mean, it's really divisive, and a lot of superheroes these days are now divisive movies. Half the people really love it or you hate it. That's where I don't agree with the fan base at all. I think people can like it and be okay liking it, and people can hate it if they don't like it. It's not for everyone, for
Yeah.
sure.
And the last thing I
I
wanted to
agree.
mention before we talk more about the movie is that I
Yeah.
saw a news report that HBO Max is planning, the streaming service is planning to potentially do spin-offs of these DCU characters and movies into different shows. So I don't think none of that's confirmed, but it's all just speculation
Rumor.
and rumors, and a lot of these things tend to kind of happen, and they're mostly based off the success of the movies. And I think Wonder Woman 1984 was clearly successful enough to not only warrant a next movie, but to warrant spin-offs and how are they going to go, developing more characters in that universe, into shows, just like Marvel's doing, where they're making their own WandaVision shows and stuff like that. So anyway, go ahead, take it away with the Wonder Woman review.
So I was pretty nervous for this movie because of all the delays. It was supposed to come out in like 2019, and because of issues, it got pushed to this year. So coming in, the opening scene is amazing, I think. And the first 10 minutes, when it's the flashback to Diana, and then spoilers again, Diana doing this like Olympic like scene. Now, what I don't like about the scene is that it has nothing to do with the rest of the movie, which was a huge misfire because the scene is great and the music is great, and it's good to see like Robin Wright come back, and it was a fun scene, but it has nothing to do with the rest of the movie. Like I thought like there would be some message that it had, but it doesn't. I do think the villains are a lot better here than the first one. Because I think, as I said in my ranking, I think Pedro Pascal did a great job as Maxwell Lord. Him out of everyone knew exactly what movie he was in. He was very cheesy and over the top, and it's what the movie needed, in my opinion, a little more over the top, because the movie is 2.5 hours long, and it had no business being that long, especially for characters whose motivations are very generic, I would say. Especially Cheetah's character, who you kind of seen. Cheetah, I mean, we have to get into this, dude, because the idea that Jacob, so basically, there's a stone that you have to wish for, and when you get that wish, it takes something away from you. And the big part of the movie is that Pedro Pascal becomes the stone. He wishes to become the wish, and that's how he's the villain of the movie. But now I want to talk about this one issue first. I think there's like three major plot holes to really talk about. And the first one I want to talk about is Steve Trevor coming back in a random body, right? Because it's not Steve Trevor back, right? Human form. No one else sees Chris Pine, but I guess we see Chris Pine um, as the audience, but they don't really explain that basically Chris Pine takes over this person's body, and then when Steve leaves, the person is like back to normal. I wanted to know if you felt like that was an issue too, because it's a plot hole that I'm really stuck on at the moment.
Yeah, I think it is an issue, but I like that Steve Trevor is back in this movie because I think
Yeah.
it shows how much Diana like kind of missed him, and it makes her character more believable. If they just started this movie and Diana was just a badass, warrior princess, and she doesn't care about
Yeah.
anyone and she's doing her own thing, that would have been really unbelievable to me because we never got to really see her grieve Steve Trevor, and we spent all of Wonder Woman 2017 building up their relationship only to see it stripped away. That has to have an effect on somebody, which it was showed perfectly. I think that they had a real effect on her. Um, so was it perfectly executed? No, it's a
No.
little bit weird for him to be back, and there's some plot holes with that. But I understand the concept of it, and it's good enough, I suppose. For me, it's good enough. If the penalty is having this sort of weird scenario where he just comes back to life and takes over this guy's body, um, and the reward for that is you get to have more Steve Trevor and Diana Prince and Steve Trevor and Wonder Woman, whatever, scenes, and then you get to finally resolve her character's relationship with Steve Trevor. I think it's worth it.
I do
To me,
think
it's worth it.
And I do think they're the best part of the first movie, and they're definitely the best part of this movie when they're on screen. Because now he's the fish out of water in this movie, because obviously he lived in the World War I era. Now he's in the 80s, which was a funny little twist on the first film as well.
Yeah.
My main issue too with the movie is that in Batman versus Superman, we were told that Wonder Woman has been literally in hiding since the events of the first film, which I'm perfectly cool with. But literally in this film, the whole world was going to explode. And she was running around in the mall in the first scene you see her. I mean, everyone's seeing her. Um, I couldn't believe that they didn't. And the issue too is that Patty Jenkins actually wrote the script for this one, what she didn't do in the first one. Um, did you think that was a major issue too? Because I was thinking back to BVS and the fact that they kind of explained that she's been in hiding since the ending of the first one. But this movie, I mean, she is out in the open a lot. And not just
Yeah.
that, but the whole world was literally about to nuke each other. Like the whole world was gonna be done at the end of this movie unless she put the lasso on Pedro. So I don't understand that point either.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. The only thing I can draw from that is that Patty Jenkins got the green light from the Warner Brothers execs
I agree.
to say, hey, listen,
Mhm.
everything we made, but like BVS and before that sucks. So just rip it apart. So like Justice
Yeah.
League never happened. BVS never happened. Like they're all just like Suicide Squad never happened. So I feel like the Warner Brothers guys were like, listen, if you're worried about BVS standing in the way of you making a good movie, scratch that. Forget everything we said in BVS.
Yeah.
And I like that because I think BVS was terrible. So I have no. If they just want to like write
Yeah,
out
yeah. Why
BVS
don't you
from our
bring it up?
minds, I'm good with that. But yeah, no, I was watching it, definitely thinking,
It
wait
doesn't
a
connect
minute,
at all. Doesn't
wait
connect
a
at
minute.
all. It
Yeah,
doesn't. And I'm cool. I'm okay with that. But if they're trying to do a universe, this movie doesn't fit into it at all, in my
yeah, they
opinion.
got to restart, reboot.
Now, I do want to talk to you about the big, in my opinion, bad CGI fight with Cheetah and Wonder Woman that we kind of got a glimpse of the trailer. And my main issue with it was that it felt like Cheetah was in the movie just to have a fight with Wonder Woman at the end because Maxwell Lord couldn't do that. And also, I thought Cheetah should have been the villain of her own movie. She felt very tacked on. And I actually was nervous because Kristen Wiig is not a serious actor. She's a comedic SNL actress, and I like Kristen Wiig, but she was good in the movie. But first of all, she gets Diana's powers for like a part of the movie and does nothing with them, and then she wishes to become basically a cheetah. And
Was
I
it a
want to
wish? I thought that was Max Lord like
Max
summoning the
Lord,
power
yeah,
from other people and then giving it to her. And
yeah. So
what I
whatever
didn't
it was,
understand about that is how is the power he got from other people
a cheetah.
make her
Yeah,
a
I have no
cheetah?
idea.
Like he was,
I have no idea.
yeah.
I have no idea. But I want to talk to you about this fight because it was pretty terrible. The look of Cheetah is not good, and they tried to give a backstory to Wonder Woman wearing the cool armor at at the end of the movie, but I didn't really care for the backstory. It didn't matter what the backstory was. And by the way, Cheetah just destroys the armor in like 2 seconds, even though it's supposed to be like the greatest thing of all time.
They're trying to
So
show her
I was
power
just
level,
confused.
but yeah.
I thought
Okay.
the armor backstory was cute when my friend described it to me, but I think everything's cute. So I'm just throwing that out
So talk to
there.
me. I want to talk about this fight because I really didn't like it, and I thought that the whole movie had like the action scene with the trucks with I don't know. Do you know what I'm talking about in the middle of the movie where Wonder Woman's like underneath
Yes.
the.
Yeah, she's in the
That's a
truck with
great
Steve
scene.
Trevor. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that scene, and that's my favorite part of the movie. But this fight did not work at the end with Cheetah, in my opinion. What did you think?
Yeah, I thought it was terrible. It's definitely wasn't very good. I think for me, I gotta pull this up for you guys. I was working on this a little bit, but I was getting flashbacks when we were watching this.
Yeah.
Give me 2 seconds here. Let me pull this up. But otherwise, I really just thought I was really disappointed with the movie.
Yeah.
With how they like handled Cheetah's character. I was thinking,
Mm.
oh my god, this is like a Shazam thing where Shazam is like a lesser known character and they're gonna bring him in. He's gonna be awesome. And Cheetah is definitely a Wonder Woman villain, but a way lesser known character. And I was really hoping it'd be awesome, but they made her motivations, I think, really one dimensional. And so when they had this final fight, I didn't feel like it mattered at all because I didn't feel like she mattered, or the movie made an emphasis on her,
Yeah.
making a difference. But before we go on, I grabbed 2 pictures online. I'm going to show them on the stream right now. You guys won't be able to see them, but it's a side by side. I have this image I'm showing right now is from Cats, and then this image is from
Cheetah.
Wonder Woman 19. From Cheetah from Wonder Woman
Oh
1984.
my god.
They look so bad. They look so similar. It's terrible.
That's oh my god. I know how bad Cats is. That must be terrifying.
Yeah. This is so people that are watching on YouTube can see this. If you're listening on Spotify, you got to check this out on YouTube and watch this. But
Yeah.
this is what they look like side by side. So make your own decision whether or not you think one is better than the other. But Cat's got a lot of criticism for looking terrible, and I really don't think Cheetah's much better. So get rid of that
That
now.
says a lot.
I'll send you guys the pictures afterwards. You can check them out if you'd like. But
Yeah.
so
And
not
also,
very good.
my problem too, and I think I want to add it on, is that they tried to build that Wonder Woman and Cheetah have a bit of a friendship, I guess, at this Smithsonian in the beginning of the movie. Like they said, we had one dinner, honestly, and that was kind of it. And then Wonder Woman could have figured this all out, by the way, of the backstory on the stone and where it is by herself. I don't know why she needed to include Barbara Minerva, I think is her name, in the movie anyway. It just felt tacked on, in my opinion.
Yeah, and another thing, I mentioned this earlier when we were talking about BVS, where I was upset that Batman felt like he was being dumbed down. Like I felt like he was much smarter, in what Batman really is much smarter than he was portrayed. And I feel like the same with Wonder Woman. When they were having conversations where Wonder Woman knew the stone could grant you a wish because Steve Trevor had already happened.
Yeah.
Then she knew that Barbara knew about the stone, and then also knew that she gave it to Max Lord and that something was happening. So how could she not draw the connection that Barbara used the stone, and what did she use it for? Like, I don't understand why there wasn't a, hey, the stone gives you powers or wishes. What did you wish for? And then,
Yeah.
so I feel like this could have been resolved, and then she could have said, oh, I wished for power, and then, she could have helped her or taken her under her wing right there. Obviously, that would have ruined the plot for the rest of the movie, but like that's just a little plot hole
It's
where it's
common
like
sense. I
Wonder
completely
Woman would
agree.
have done that, and I think it's lazy to go like, oh well, she just didn't ask.
Yeah.
Like
Now,
that makes her less believable, I think.
another scene that I
Wait, you
like.
bring up
Oh,
a
yeah.
You
Go.
bring up a really good point, and not just in Wonder Woman, but if one character was just able to realize something in so many movies, there wouldn't be movies. So, like,
Yeah.
while you bring up that good point, then what's the point of having all these other movies? And that's just like something to think about. So, like, yeah, that's a good point, but also then there wouldn't be this movie, and it would be like 20 minutes. So,
Yeah.
just throwing that
Yeah.
out there.
So another scene that I liked was the invisible jet scene flying over during July 4th. I actually like the scene a lot. I get why people don't like it because Steve hasn't flown a plane in like 70 years, and I guess he already knows with the technology, he can already just fly it instantly. I didn't really that part I can disbelieve. You know what I mean? Like there's some parts that pull me out of the movie because of how not realistic it is. That one was fine. I really like that scene too. Did you like so also Maxwell Lord is really the main villain of the movie. We can talk about Cheetah as long as we want, but he's kind of the main villain. What did you think of Maxwell Lord in the movie?
I thought he was fine. I thought it was kind of a cop out that he was just like, oh, my son, I gotta stop being bad now. I gotta start being good to my son now. Because I didn't
Yeah,
feel like they built up that relationship to show that he loved his son. Like his son was
completely agree.
around, but he kind of just acted like a douche to his son. So I thought he wouldn't have cared, and I thought it would be more in line for his character to just kind of forget it. I need the power, because that's what he was like the
Yeah,
entire
yeah.
movie. There wasn't anything where he was like putting real effort to be with his son or to make that a priority. So that part was a little bit of a cop out, and I also felt like the movie was at the end where Wonder Woman was trying to talk him out of it.
Yes.
It was just kind of like it felt like I was watching a rom com where she's like, "Oh, Max, you have to do this for your son. Listen to your son, Max. Oh my God." It was just very sappy. It was very like um,
Agreed. Yeah.
predictable. Well, one, and that's not necessarily bad. I still enjoyed the movie, but like, you're not just gonna. This is much different than a movie like Man of Steel, where I watch Man of Steel and I'm blown away. And when at the
Yeah.
end of Man of Steel, where he has to kill Zod, I could not see that coming from a mile away. Because if I mean, that's one of Superman's cardinal things. I mean, he doesn't kill people, just like Batman and all the other DC characters. So him having
Yeah.
to murder this guy in front of people in order to save people, I thought was amazing for Superman's character, and really, helped uh,
Agreed.
make him interesting. And when you compare that to like a scene where Wonder Woman is just predictably you come off of a very boring fight with her and Cheetah, and then you have this predictable scene where like she's talking down Max, then of course he listens, and then that's it. It's just very bland, especially when the whole movie seemed predictable. Her first fight scene with we knew Cheetah was leveling up the entire movie, and then
Yeah.
her first fight scene, was very obvious that she was going to step in and protect Max. And then it was
Of course.
incredibly obvious that she was going to beat Wonder Woman there. And then Wonder Woman needed to shed Steve Trevor and then level up herself with the armor or whatever. It was just very obvious that was coming. When they showed that Wonder Woman was depowered a little because the wish takes the power away from her, and that's why she lost to Cheetah. It was like, okay, as soon as I saw her depowered, I one knew she was going to lose to Cheetah, two knew she was going to get her power back, and then three, as soon as they showed the golden armor, I knew that's how she was going to beat Cheetah, or that was going to be
Yeah.
a part to that.
Mhm.
So
All
all
fair.
those things take away from the movie for me, and they hold it in this average state, which
And all
is
and
upsetting.
For me too, a part that I'll say these two things too. Two things I love about the first one. First one is the lasso of truth, right? A thing that I really liked in the first one, and they didn't just use it as a weapon; they actually used it to, you know, make the characters tell exposition about facts. That is so gone in this movie. She doesn't. She just uses it just as a weapon in this movie, right? I mean,
Yeah.
she does. She never. She uses
Like
it
grappling,
for truth.
swinging.
She doesn't. Yeah, she never uses it for truth on anything except she luckily wraps it around Max's leg in the last scene that lets her talk to everyone, which I still don't under. Which I'm fine with. I
Yeah,
don't
I
really
don't know
care.
how that makes any
Um,
sense.
that's the only part of the lasso that's actually used for truth, which I was thought was a big miss. But as I said in my ranking, I think that this movie happened. The difference was for me between this one and the first one. And I really do like this movie. I just have a lot of issues. The first one for me felt like it took place in World War I, and it was a character of itself, like the setting itself. This movie did just feel like it took place in 1984, um, and it didn't have enough nostalgia too because it just happened in 1984, in my opinion. Like it didn't feel like this could have taken place in any time, honestly, which was a big miss for me.
Yeah, there was nothing specifically 80s that drew me to this movie. You know,
Yeah,
obviously they were trying to overdo it with like the roller blading and you know, dumb
yeah.
outfits everyone was wearing, which is cool and it definitely sets like a setting, I suppose. But other than that, it felt like nothing was very different from a movie that could be made now or a movie you know, set in the 80s.
Yeah.
So you know that was kind of unfortunate. But yeah, so
But overall,
Um,
But
go ahead.
overall, I had a good time with the movie. Like it's not. It's very easy to watch. It's not better than the first one. But I still enjoyed it. Like I had fun watching the movie. Like the acting is great, by the way. Like Gail is such a great Wonder Woman. It's hard not to. She's very watchable. Chris Pine's very watchable. Pedro Pascal and Christian Wake are all watchable. I just think that the script has too many times where you have to throw away common sense too many times,
Yeah.
and that's where it gets a little too ridiculous compared. Like the first one feels a lot more grounded and a lot more focused than this one has a lot going on, and as you said, I even forgot about Pedro Pascal with his son. I completely forgot about that subplot until you brought it up. There's just little things like that, and then there's a post-credit scene that is
Did
did you
you
see
get
it?
the reference that they made in that post credit scene?
Yeah, so the post-credit scene is Linda Carter, who played
Yeah.
the original Wonder Woman in TV series back in the 80s, um, which was cool. But then they said that she's playing the person who had the original armor,
Yes.
right? That's what the connection was,
Yes.
right?
Well, because they described the person with the original armor when they were like when Diana gave her whole
Yeah,
speech about the armor, she was like, "Oh, I forget what her name was. One of like Etheria or like one of those
Asteria. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Assyria.
yeah.
Yeah. She was like, "Oh, Asteria wore this legendary armor, and she sacrificed herself so that others may succeed." And I guess the
Yeah,
reference there is that she was one of the first female superheroes. So, and when a time where it wasn't really popular, so she sacrificed herself so others
correct.
can succeed is kind of
I thought it was
applicable in more
cool.
ways than one. So I thought that was a cool reference there. And then yeah, then that's how they kind of tie that in.
Now, I would have liked to seen Pedro Pascal go to prison at the end of this movie because literally he basically almost blew up the entire world, and we end on seeing him hug his kid, and that's kind of it. Um, so I want to see some consequences of what he did in the movie, and they also brought in the fact that he got abused as a kid, like out of the blue, in a flashback scene at the end. I don't know if you remember this, but like they show a scene of him getting abused as a kid, and then that
Right.
and then that led
Yeah.
into him hugging his kid. um, why
And
was
I guess
that
his,
even
his
in like
motivation was like, I was abused as a kid, so I don't want to abuse my kid. So that
I
is
have no
why I'm gonna like choose to save him. They're trying to give him motivation for why he would give up all this power
yeah,
he spent the entire movie working for, which is just strange because they didn't have any
yeah, very.
backstory for him. I mean, you can cut out these scenes where Kristen Wiig is like dropping her like notes and stuff on the ground for some like actual Max Lord backstory would be ideal, but it is what it is, you know. This is a homie movie. I mean, they're not gonna have real consequences in a movie like this because it's too hard hitting for 2020.
Now there is a third movie. Do you think it will take place right after this movie, another decade.
Mm.
Like, is Maxwell Lord back? And because Cheetah and Maxwell Lord do not
Oh
die
god,
at the
I
end of
never
this
want to
movie.
see those two characters ever
So,
again.
so what I'm saying is they kind of set up the fact that Cheetah could be back. Maxwell Lord should be in prison. I mean, come on. At this point, even though he still has the power in him. So I know he relinquished his wish. So I have no idea what the third movie could be, because this movie does not set up a third movie at all.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad for that because I don't want them to write themselves into a corner. I'm actually really happy they did it that way. Personally, if it was me and I could go back in time and change the movies that have been made, Man of Steel I would have probably kept most of the same. But you cannot make Batman versus Superman without having a Batman and a Superman solo movie beforehand, and ideally a Wonder Woman movie.
Agreed.
So like, yeah, and then all that, and you cannot make Justice League without having a Flash movie or a Green Lantern movie or a Cyborg movie or something. So it's just very pathetic. I mean, they didn't even have a Batman solo movie, and they made Justice League. Are you kidding me? So Wonder Woman 3 has to be way down the line. I want to see a Flash movie. I want to see another Aquaman movie. I want to see another Superman movie. I want to see a Batman movie. All this before we even talk about Wonder Woman 3.
And the thing I want to say is that not a lot of people talk about that. I think this is it for Steve Trevor, in my opinion.
Has to be.
This is it. You can't bring him back. You can't make another excuse for him to come back, because this already was stretching it a bit. Why he's back, and he was great, by the way. They have great chemistry, but I think the fact that she relinquished the wish of keeping him should mean that I think that's it for Pine, which is a shame because he's great, but storyline wise, I'm done with Steve Trevor. And I have a feeling they're gonna have to bring him back again, which is my skeptical me thinking about the third movie.
Well, I hope they do.
And if they do, they should do something about that in the beginning, like right off the bat. Like if they do bring him back, I feel like he needs to go within the first 20 minutes, not even.
And he really isn't in this movie that much, by the way, too. Like, he's only really in the second act of the movie, right? Like, he pops in at the party, and then he's gone right before she goes off to fight Cheetah. So, like, I think he needs to be done, in my opinion.
Yeah, for sure. And I think what you need to do, you got like two options. Either one, Wonder Woman she's a solo deal now. Steve Trevor was the love of her life, but he's gone, so she is just like a powerful woman, and she does her own thing, and she maybe like you do no relationship, and she's just herself, and that's it. Or you do a relationship with someone else, and I don't think you do another like normal character. I think you have two options, which both I am not really a fan of, but these are like your comic booky options. If you know what I'm talking about, it's either her and Batman or her and Superman. And I think Superman and Lois are perfect, and I think Batman and I don't think she needs would be perfect. But
I don't think she needs another romance, because I thought that the whole point of this movie was she couldn't get over Steve, and the part that she's moving on from Steve, and I don't think they were setting up at the end of the movie that she liked the guy at the end of the movie.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't want her to have another romance. I think we need a female superhero movie without a romance at this point, especially Wonder Woman, because
Gabrielle was so happy.
She was definitely, by the way, she was pretty dependent on Steve during the movie. Like, she kept saying, I can't get rid of you, Steve. And Steve's the one who had to tell her, like, you just have to relinquish the wish. But I think she needs to move on. And I'm fine seeing pictures of Steve and her always reflecting, because it really did mean a lot to her, that romance. But I don't want to see another romance. Why would? Because that would ruin the romance of Steve and her.
That is true. But a lot of time has passed, and Steve wants her to be happy. And also, the Batman and Wonder Woman is a classic comic book thing, and they're adorable. I mean, if you've watched, I grew up as a kid watching Justice League, the animated series, and Batman and Wonder Woman have this on and off flirtation that is adorable. It's perfect.
Yeah, but that could be
this is a totally different film, and I hate Ben Affleck as Batman, so I would never want to see them together. But and then
okay, see,
Robert Pattinson's too young, so I don't know. It's a mess.
Wonder Woman is a badass superhero. Like, she doesn't need a man. And yes, amazing. They had great chemistry. Okay, great. Get over him, sister, and move on. You don't need no man. Do your own thing. She can save the world perfectly fine with herself. Period. That's all I have to say about that. She doesn't need a man. I think she can handle her business just fine. That's my thing.
Yeah,
I'm inclined to agree.
Yes!
Yeah, we agree. And I think, well, Okay, so I gave the movie a 3.5 out of 5. What would you give it out of 5 on the
Yeah,
top of your head?
like if like
'Cause I
like
just
a
wa- I
like
just wanna
a
see where you're
I'm
at.
feeling like a 2.83.
Mm.
I'm feeling like a 2, like a 3.
That's so specific.
Yeah, I don't know. 2.8 just came to me. 3, I felt like 3 was too generous, but so
Mm.
I don't know.
Okay. Well, there's a little segue. So there was multiple movies that came out on Christmas Day, and Wonder Woman was one of them. I posted a poll on my Instagram story asking people which of the 4 movies they were most excited to see, and out of the 49 people that responded, 22 of them said Wonder Woman. So I want to know what the people have to say and like what they want to know, like what they thought of the movie. I think that'll be something interesting that we can leave like the people with. I say the people.
And also, I'll just say everyone should see Soul. It's my favorite movie of the year.
Oh my God, it was
Everyone
so
should see
cute.
Soul. If you're a Pixar fan, you should see Soul. It's one of their best original movies they've made in a really long time. It's for free if you have Disney Plus. So
I
Soul's a much
cried.
better movie than 1984. So
Yeah,
um,
we're a little over an hour, so I do want to wrap this up soon. If you want, Max,
yeah. I
you
was
can
just
give.
saying.
Yeah, perfect. You can give your a small review of Soul and We Can Be Heroes if you've seen the two.
Yeah. So I'll do We Can Be Heroes because I really want to talk about Soul. We
Okay.
Can Be Heroes, you were very excited for because it takes place in the Shark Boy and Lava Girl universe. The CGI does not improve in this one. It's literally the same CGI they did 2005. But this
Oh,
movie
great.
is all about the kids. So if you wanted to see Shark Boy and Lava Girl in the movie, and Pedro Pascal plays one of the main superheroes, they're not really in the movie. Shark Boy has no lines because it's not Taylor Lautner. And the movie's so cheesy, and it's you if you even know Robert Rodriguez's Spy Kids, Shark Boy and Lava Girl, if you know that tone, you'll know what you're gonna get into. If you haven't seen those movies, you might hate We Can Be Heroes. Soul's fantastic.
Oh my
Um,
God, it was
Jamie
so
Foxx
good.
and Tina Fey play the main characters. Um, Also, what I liked about the movie is that the trailers don't give away anything. So I was shocked about
No.
how much I didn't know about the movie because I saw all the promotion for it. But the movie did shock me in a lot of ways. It obviously will make you very emotional towards the end.
I
And it's a movie that,
sobbed. I was full on
yeah,
sobbing on my couch. I'm not
yeah,
gonna lie.
it's very, very great. And there's, especially for 2020, it's very a movie that you kind of need to watch to feel good about yourself and about just it's a good reflection movie too. So I really like it. It's not like for me top tier Pixar, but I still think it's a great, great movie, and will be nominated, if not win, a lot of awards these next
Yep, I
couple of months.
agree.
For sure. For sure.
I agree. If you haven't seen Soul, I 1,000 out of like 10% recommend watching it. I was
Okay.
like excuse me, like Max said, the trailers give away nothing. And actually that's something I've noticed with Disney, Pixar, the like last few movies. Like with Frozen 2, I had no clue what I was going to see when Frozen 2 came out. The trailer didn't give away anything, and that was the same thing with Soul. So if you were shocked with Frozen 2 and like the trailer with that, you're gonna feel the same way with Soul because it was just like there was no words to describe it. I was so happy watching it. It really made me think. When I was done, I sat there and was like, "What did I just watch?" But in the best way. So that was like my thing. I give it like a 10 out of 10. And like Max said, it's not the best Pixar movie, but it was something I needed to see in the year of 2020. So
Yeah.
For
Definitely
sure.
check it out, and I can't wait to hear your guys' thoughts on it because it's a very great movie.
it was a great movie.
For sure. Well, with that being said, we've had a pretty long episode so far, a little over an hour here. So I do want to wrap this episode up. Before we do, I do want to say that maybe our DC argument, our discussion maybe went a little long, but that's all for the best. I love talking DC. I could talk it all day. And before we get out of here, we missed our fourth, co-host Lauren. She had some stuff come up. So hopefully she's able to come back for our next episode, and we can finally get the 4 of us all together for an episode. But so stay tuned for that. And all right. Thank you everyone for watching and listening, and we will see you in the next episode of the Movie Mafia.
Peace.